Hey everyone, can I just say how glad I am that you are here today? And I know that because it's Easter, many of you are probably joining us for the very first time, and I just want to say we are so excited that you are here. And so just to catch you up for what we've been talking about the last few weeks, we've been talking all about comebacks. And when you think about comebacks, you might think of a couple things, but whether you think of a buzzer beater shot to win a championship game, or you think of clutching a victory royale in Fortnite when your whole squad got eliminated except for you, we can all understand that feeling of going from hopeless to winning. And man, it is special, isn't it? Well, today, we're gonna actually talk about the ultimate comeback story. And it's way bigger than video games or sports. Because what we're talking about is what happened on Easter. And so let me tell you, it's the greatest comeback story ever. It's the story of Jesus, the one who did something so unexpected that people have been talking about it for 2,000 years. In fact, his comeback has quite literally changed the world. And it might just change your world too. Think about it. Over the last 2,000 years, billions of people have cared about who Jesus is. In fact, billions are still part of his movement today. The Bible, which shares the whole story of Jesus, is the best-selling book of all time. You probably hear Jesus mentioned in movies, music, on social media. You can see him in art, in books, and everywhere. Even the church buildings around where you are sitting, and maybe where you're sitting right now, were built to share Jesus with others. So clearly, Jesus is a big deal. But why? What makes him so special? Well, what makes him special is because Jesus pulled off this greatest comeback of all time. And when he did, it changed everything. And so to understand why this comeback is so important, we actually need to look up at the days leading up to what happened before the comeback. See, Jesus had been traveling all around, teaching people about God's love, healing people, and saying some things that were changing and challenging people's ideas about religion and society. And when he rode into Jerusalem, the biggest city near where he lived, people went crazy. But not everyone was a big fan. In fact, some of the powerful religious leaders and the political leaders, they felt that Jesus was a threat. They were worried about losing their influence and getting in trouble with Rome, who was the ruling empire in charge. So they decided to get rid of him. Jesus spent years teaching everyone how to live and how to set it up to show others how they could live right with each other and with God. Then, as the events leading up to his death happened, everything he built seemed to be getting knocked down. At first, one of Jesus' friends betrayed him. Next, he was arrested at night and put through an unfair trial all night long and into the morning. Even though he was innocent, the authorities gave in to pressure and sentenced Jesus to death. On Friday, Jesus was nailed to a cross. His followers lost their teacher, their friend, their hopes, and their dreams. They thought Jesus was going to change the world, but now he was gone. Game over, right? Everything that Jesus had built was knocked over. And it may have felt that way to a lot of Jesus' followers. After all, some people thought he was the Messiah, the one who God was going to send to save them from the corrupt government. Some people believed he was God's son. And after Jesus' death, his followers may have wondered if he really was who he said he was at all. After all, could God's son be killed? The disciples, Jesus' closest friends and followers, went into hiding, and all hope seemed to be gone. But remember, this wasn't the end of the story. On Sunday morning, one of Jesus' followers, Mary Magdalene, was at his tomb, and something incredible happened. So let's grab our Bibles and open on up to John chapter 20, verses 1 to 2. And it says this: Early on Sunday morning, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and found that the stone had been rolled away from the entrance. She ran and found Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved. She said, "They have taken the Lord's body out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him." Now imagine Mary's shock and confusion. She went to mourn her friend, and instead, she found an empty tomb. Now her first thought probably wasn't, "He's alive," but instead probably, "Someone took him." Later, Mary went back to the tomb, and she actually ended up seeing two angels. They asked her why she was crying, and she explained that she thought people had taken Jesus away. Then something even crazier than seeing angels happened. So let's look now at verses 14 and 16. She turned to leave and saw someone standing there. It was Jesus, but she didn't recognize him. "Dear woman, why are you crying?" Jesus asked her. "Who are you looking for?" She thought he was the gardener. "Sir," she said, "if you have taken him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will go and get him." "Mary," Jesus said. She turned to him and cried out, "Rabboni," which is Hebrew for teacher. And so this moment changed everything. Jesus was alive. Not only was he alive, but he appeared to his follower Mary. When Jesus came back to life, he made his comeback and everything changed. Jesus rose from the dead. And in doing so, he proved everything he ever said or did. He really was who he said he was. God's son, the one everyone was waiting for. His resurrection proved his love for all was real. That forgiveness is possible. That God's kingdom is here, and we can have real hope. His teachings were worth following because he had power over death. Talk about a comeback. Jesus went from when everything was knocked over to rebuilding everything that he had taught about. Jesus' death was not an accident or a surprise. Jesus died on purpose to show people what love looked like, to show that God would stop at nothing to have a relationship with us. Jesus' death and resurrection show us that he is worth trusting and that we can experience our own comebacks through following him. Everything Jesus said about who he was proved true when he came back to life. Jesus wasn't just a good guy or a nice teacher. He was exactly who he said he was, the Son of God who couldn't even be stopped by death itself. His resurrection proves that having a close relationship with God starts now and lasts forever. Jesus is truly the ultimate comeback kid. But what does this mean for us today? How does Jesus' epic comeback affect our lives right now? Well, it means we have a choice to make. If Jesus really did come back to life and if everything he said was true, then we need to decide how we'll respond. Trust Jesus with your everyday life. If Jesus is the power over death, he certainly has the power to help you with whatever you're going through. Whether that's being worried about a test, worried about your family's future, you can talk to Jesus about it. He's alive and he cares about every part of your life. If you've already made a decision to trust Jesus, I want to encourage you to keep taking steps to make that relationship stronger. If you haven't decided to trust Jesus, but you want to, today's a great place to talk in a small group about how you can do that. And if you haven't figured out exactly what you think, my challenge to you is to just learn more. As you get to know who Jesus is, you might just discover that trusting him will change your life in incredible ways. So here we are on Easter, and it's more than just about how we celebrate. It's about the greatest comeback story ever told. Jesus, who died on the cross, didn't stay dead and proved that everything he did and said while alive was real. Jesus' comeback backs up everything he said. And the best part, this comeback story is an invitation for all of us, an invitation to a new life, a fresh start, and a chance to be part of something bigger than us. Now, as we wrap up, I want you to consider this. What if Jesus' comeback story could be your comeback story too? What if you could have a fresh start? Because that's exactly what Jesus offers. Jesus' comeback backs up everything he said, and that changes everything for us. Thanks for joining us, guys, and have a super happy Easter.